do you think AI is making a really my really for us?
That's a very good that's a very good question. Yeah.
Continuing on our creative community for
Yeah, thank you very much, Anand. Yeah, I'm happy to be here again.
you test the AI to be able to reduce human job so that people can do what is work
Mhm.
or can AI do our voice work or
That's a very good question. Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent question. I think one thing AI could do is that, for example, AI could be used for teaching kids how to read or write, or it could be in education. It can be used in education, or there could be robots. Like for example, in hospitals or places that can help people. Uh, yeah, definitely. I think AI can be used in a lot of like positive ways. And at the same time, AI is, as I said yesterday, it could also empower people. It could empower people, the same way, for example, when agriculture was industrialized, farmers didn't lose their jobs. They they still did farming, but they spent less hours on their farms, right? Because machines do the jobs for them. So farming basically empowered them. So the same way, I think AI is empowering people, and it also empowers people to do volunteer work. For example, teachers can use AI, or like even in a lot of cases, for example, lawyers or teachers can use AI because a lot of answers are already there. So a lot of times, like for example, a lawyer should search for certain litigations or rules or laws. He or she goes to their books and search for them. But AI basically provides those answers to them instantly. So that's another way we can leverage AI basically.
in your opinion this human job and we know able to take over.
That's a very good question. Um, I think eventually AI would take basically would replace like all jobs, but not replace, like empower people, or in many cases it could like do the jobs for them. But I think currently, I think the jobs that requires less manual work can be done by AI, like more intellectual work. For example, translation, or the job that the doctor does, right? The doctor looks at reports, asks some questions from the patient, and diagnoses, uh, the disease or illness. So these are all like, there's no human labor involved, right? Or for example, a lawyer. a lawyer reads the case and he knows some stuff in his mind, right? So, for example, all the rules and litigations, laws, constitution, and he draws like he puts together these, these pieces together and basically present that to the judge. Doing that, requires a lot of intellectual capability. So that AI can do. But for example, let's say a plumber or a carpenter, what they do is it requires a lot of human labor, manual labor. Robots can do that, but I think it requires more advancement in AI for robots to be able to do that. Eventually, they would do that, but I think in near future, I think these intellectual works can be easily empowered by AI because what AI needs is just data, raw data, and data is readily available on the internet and things like that. So even, for example, someone with some programming skills can download like a large language model and create, for example, a chatbot for lawyers, for example. It takes a few hours or let's say a few weeks to do that. He doesn't need to build the robots, right? But yeah, anyone can do it because it's more easily accessible and anyone with some knowledge of computer science can do it. I think it's going to be uh, becoming more ubiquitous and more common than, for example, creating robots. But that was an excellent question.
What we happen if AI it was all our job?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think if it takes all our jobs, I think we would basically, I think, we would create new jobs, probably. The same way, for example, when something is invented, some jobs are replaced with other jobs, but new jobs are also created. There is always something that we can do. So I think if AI takes all of our jobs, we can focus on other things. For example, we can focus on going to space, or we can focus on like solving some other problems.
You if AI is making a really my lay it out for us.
That's a very good that's a very good question. Yeah. Yeah, I think it sometimes it does. Yeah, I think we shouldn't sometimes rely too much on AI because a lot of these tools, for example, Chat GPT, or sometimes they give you the wrong answer. Sometimes the answers are toxic or biased or they hallucinate basically. So sometimes I think you also have to do your own investigation to find the right answers. But AI is a kind of it could give you direction, but you shouldn't heavily rely on that. And it's something, yeah, it's like, for example, calculator. If like when calculator was invented, like a lot of people became lazy. They didn't do the math in their head.
Yeah.
So the same way we should do,
Yeah.
the same way I think we should treat AI.
Be other before them the innovation and invention, but then it become more near people are it. What is your opinion about this?
Yeah, I think anything which is invented has any new invention or discovery has positive side and negative sides to it. For example, like nuclear energy, when it was discovered, so it could be used for energy, like it could be used to replace fossil energy, right? And it could help us it could help the environment and things like that,
Mm.
combat basically global warming. But on the other hand, nuclear energy could be used for bombs,
Yeah.
nuclear bombs. We have, and what happened in Japan and things like that. So this means that we need some ethics and morality is very so as technology and AI is advancing, we should uh, there needs to be like moral education accompanied by that so people can use it. Regulations and education at the same time, like governments and should regulate it, and it should be regulated at a global level because AI and technology, it doesn't they don't know boundaries, right? They don't know borders. So it's a basically global problem. So that's one thing. And then at the grassroots, also people should be educated of how to use it. If it falls in the wrong hands, it could cause a lot of problems.
No, but if don't have a mind,
Mhm.
how, how is it able to realize that only brilliance or needed?
Exactly. This is a very good question. So interestingly, like one of the first basically AI systems that came to being was, I think it was like 20 years ago. So it was a simple, not simple at that time, it was very complex, but now if you look at it, it's more simple. It was called neural networks. So what it did was basically it looked at an image of a digit and it it tried to understand like what the digit was. Was it zero, not one, two, three, all the way to nine? So and the way it worked, this neural networks, how they work is they try to mimic how the brain works, right? So there are some nodes or neurons that they get the input. So the input in this case, for example, are pixels, pixels of the image. So it's if you have an image of like 32 by 32, that's 1024 pixels, right? And let's say it's a gray picture. So each pixel is a number between 0 and 1. So you have 1024 numbers, and so each of those numbers go to some nodes. You combine those numbers, you multiply those numbers by some other numbers, and you output another number. So each node basically processes the data and output another data. And you have a few layers of this. And the final layer basically outputs 10 numbers between 0 and 1. If the first number is very close to 1, it means your prediction is 0. If the second number is very close to 1, the prediction is 1, so on and so forth. But the idea is that the way the first AI systems came to being was inspired by how our mind works, how our brain works. Now, a lot of these large language models like ChatGPT, for example, or other like open source models, it's the same system, but much more advanced. They still use neurons. Some of them have billions, and a few of them have over a trillion neurons, the same way our mind works. Human mind has 80 billion nodes, and each neuron is connected on average to 7,000 other nodes. So in total, we have, I think, between 60 and 100 trillion connections these nodes are connected to. So that architecture so the current AI is basically inspired by that brain architecture. It's kind of similar, but our mind is still much more advanced, but it's the same basically connection. So, and learning happens by basically these neurons or nodes learning how to combine the inputs from how to output something by combining the inputs. What they receive a lot of information, they combine it, they output something to the other neurons. So they learn how to do it basically.
I'm clear about your image of the IU app that is
this is amazing. You know, I've never seen such an app, and I think yeah, it's great. It's wonderful how you can convert the basically the voice to text and so quickly and so efficiently. I think it's wonderful. I think even if you use, I think maybe Chat GPT 4.0 could also help you to improve the tool. And there are other I think open source model you can try to basically download them and fine tune them to see if we can improve. But at the current status, I think it's wonderful.
But thank you so much for the for the interview.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anand. It was wonderful. I really like the questions and our conversation. And I really also really like your channel. You know, I watched some of your interviews with other friends, Armin and Ali and others. Yeah, I've seen them.
Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.